This video is sponsored by Skillshare.
Hello Hambini fans and welcome to another episode of the Engineering Sarcasm Show, fronted by yours truly. In today's episode, all the way from Orchard Street 3rd floor in Singapore, these, which are Ascent wheels. Now I should just briefly mention, these have, since I've had them, been recalled, mainly because of me. But I'm going to review them anyway because I said I would, and we'll go through what the issues were when they were sent to me. So what have we got? Well, we have got these 69mm Omnibalance wheels from Ascent, which is a company based in Singapore. I will just measure it just to prove it. Now, because they are disc wheels, they don't have to worry about the brake track, so that's gone. Metal nipples, and these aren't particularly shallow, they're quite wide. Then we've got the carbon spokes, which we will definitely come to, and then DT Swiss 180 hubs. I'll stick them on the scale so you can measure up. So they are 808 grams for the back wheel, 715 grams for the front wheel. They're about 35mm wide at the widest point, which is extremely wide. And 23mm there or thereabouts for the internal width. So this is the rear DT hub. We can pull the cap off like that. Behind there's a 6803 bearing. We can pull this off. It's a bit mucky in there, but that's also a 6803 with a spacer in there. Of note here is all the grease is fallen out. So, okay, I haven't looked after them, but the grease has come out. And there's the drive system behind there. That is a 30mm opening to my eye, so I suspect there's a 6903 bearing behind there. It's quite easy to service this thing, but it is a crap hub. Some slight bite marks on the free hub body, and also some wear on the splines there. Wouldn't really say that's all that severe. In fact, we come on to the juicy bit, which is the wheel. So the wheel actually failed while it was on test. You can see the failure there. The spoke has started to delaminate from the metal insert. So each of these inserts is metal into the nipple, and you've got a bond there between the carbon and the threaded section. Now, you can hear it. That one hasn't gone yet, but there's a few round here where it's gone. So that one's gone. First one, and there's a few others. So this is a KPS wheel going up here. That one's okay. This one's gone. So the spoke feels loose, but what's actually happened is that. So the spoke joint has completely failed, and that's what's happening on the other wheels. It's the same brand of spoke. I've got another one here, look, where it started to go. This one's a bit further down the line than the other wheel because, well, I've had this wheel a bit longer, so it's perishing through just general use. Right, it is that time of the show again. It is time for PowerPoint, and today's episode is called Ascent Polaris. It wasn't a Hambini special. We need to do the pen is working. The pen is working. And because I'm a bit older and wiser now, I can do it all joined up. By Hambini, aged 5. Right, who are Ascent? Well, Ascent are a Singapore-based company. I think I've mentioned that before. They make bike parts, and these wheels were, according to them, handmade by another company in Singapore. I think the rims are probably sourced from somewhere in China. They are relatively new to the market, and let me show you their website. Right, so this is their website. And this is the wheel page, and you can pick whatever you want. So the wheels that I've got are €2,377. So it costs a bit extra for the DT 180 hub.
and the raw finish is another $300. So there you go. There's the wheel specs, and it also comes with a lifetime warranty against crashing. And that is about that. We need to do a shout out to a place in Singapore. No, it is not the 3rd floor of Orchard Street. We need to do a shout out for Em and Nat, who have been hassling me for ages about my hair dressing. So One Bike Asia, if you are in the neighbourhood in Singapore, go and pay them a visit. Tell them that Hambini sent you, and remember to use the appropriate 4-letter words, which aren't nice. Right, these wheels, 69mm. I said about the price. Tubeless compatible, disc brake, and you can get a rim brake as well. DT hubs. Right, the measured rim width was around about 35mm and 23mm internal, so they are extremely wide. They've also got these carbon, and I've called them squarish spokes because they've undergone a recall. I mean, this isn't the first set of wheels that I've had where the spokes have delaminated. I've shown you the video of those ones, but plenty of people have got in touch with similar faults on different brands of wheels. Now, there's a couple of other reviews around the web. You can view them. There's Pete Tuck, he's reviewed them. He had Sapim spokes and GC Performance. I can't remember what spokes he had, but yeah, he's got a set of wheels as well. Let's have a look at them. Right, wheel build quality. So radial run out wasn't really applicable. It went out around because of the spoke failure, so you can't really say much about that. And the same thing for the lateral run out. There's quite a few voids in there, and I'll show you a bit further down the line. Geometrically, it's okay because the wheel is 69mm deep and wide, has a high second moment of area, so its resistance to bending, twisting is very good. So you could argue they are a stiff wheel. Right, bearings. Now, this is really a comment around the hubs, which are DT hubs. I didn't check the fronts. Normally I do, but because of the way the wheel review went, I only really checked the rears. The free hubs are okay, so they're an M7. The rear hubs are getting on towards an R7. It's almost like the tip that was used to machine the bearing landings was worn, so it's made the hole smaller than it should be, so you end up with a tight fit. The drawback from that is you'll get slightly faster wear of the bearings, and you'll also have a bigger power loss. The slightly faster is a term that you can't often justify. Sometimes it's like 40%, sometimes it can fail within the next 10 minutes. So overall, I'd say the hubs were quite poor, and there's a bit of run out. It just strikes of mass machined, ram it through as fast as possible. I know people rave on about DT hubs. These are the free hub arrangement. So on the left you've got Far Sport, so it's got quite a big diameter for the power delivery. I mean, if you compare it to the bearing size, so the bearing size on all of them is around a 6803. So that and that is the same size. The one in there, that's actually a 6903 because you're looking at the wheel side, but you can see the corresponding ratchets. Now it is a bit different on the DT hub. The ratchet engagement doesn't use paws like this, so it's just a different arrangement. Wouldn't say it's any better. I wouldn't say really it's any worse, but it's just a different arrangement. And you've got a big spring that holds the whole thing together. And this one's the wind space. I should have mentioned that before. Right, this is a shot of the internals of the bike wheel. So this is the Polaris wheel. This is the end of the nipple. So the spoke is that. And there's another one I think that might be it. I don't know actually. Anyway, this is the trailing edge of the wheel. So if I draw a line, that's basically the section of the wheel. So you've got all of this, that, see that. Some of it is resin overflow, but some of it also looks like a bit of tenting and displacement voids. If you are one of the regular viewers of the channel, you will know about the extensive use of numerical modelling that I do on here. Now that would not be possible without Skillshare, who are kindly sponsoring today's video. Now Skillshare is just a bit more than a learning platform. It allows you to interact, grow and succeed in tasks that you may have otherwise found somewhat challenging. In my case, I joined Skillshare for two primary reasons. The first was to improve my German, and the second, which is a lot more relevant and you've just seen, was to improve my Excel visualization skills. So it appeals to a wider range of people, such as those viewing the channel. Now, the course that I would recommend is this one, which is called Microsoft Excel Essentials Level 3 VBA Programming by Alan Jarvis. Now I found this course to be quite engaging and pitched at just the right level. He covers everything like visualization strategies for wider audiences, some of the key coding, and also fine levels of customization that give you the tools to adapt what you've learned to your particular situation. If you are interested in becoming a member of Skillshare, the first 1,000 people to use the link or my code Hambini will get a month free trial of Skillshare. Here's another shot, so you can see that there. This is the valve hole here. And then there's a nipple there. You can see the areas around here and here, there as well. For comparison purposes, this is a wheel from a UK integrator, so a company that goes and buys their wheel rims in China usually, hubs from whoever, and then puts them together. I mean, this is not good at all really. Look at that. That isn't resin. That's some serious displacement. And then yeah, you've got that. Yeah, it's all sorts. This white stuff here it looks to be grease, and there's the nipple there. Right, and then at the other end of the scale you've got Fast Sports. So this is their wheel, and you can see through. You can see this. Now, if you look carefully, that has all the hallmarks of resin. It's like this opaque colour. Whereas a proper true displacement void tends to be a different colour. It tends to be black with a shiny pointy end on it, whereas that doesn't. That's either wax or excess resin. This is the imbalance of the wheel. I've put some comparators on there, so the two sort of ones that people tend to go by, Fast Sports and Windspace. So the outer balance was 800 millimeters at an angle of 230. So 0 is the valve hole. Normally you'd expect the outer balance to be in line with the valve hole, but this is slightly out. And then you've got the aerodynamic stability. So these wheels have been marketed on the premise that they are deep and stable. So we've got some wheel rims on there. So of the named type, I mean the Windspace Hyper 65 is probably the closest one. Okay, it's 4mm less deep, but it's significantly narrower. So the orange line is the Windspace, and there isn't really that much difference between that one and the yellow line, which is the Polaris, until you get to this region. So beyond 100 is where the Polaris is better. I would, be clear, this is a log scale, so that's 100 and that's 10. So that is a big step difference there. I mean, if you took a 50mm wheel, which of these two, 1 is the limit of stability. People would argue around 1. So you've lost like 30-40% of your stability just because the rim is deeper. These values are subject to change because I didn't get as many miles under it as I normally would like to. There's more of that on Patreon, and there's a web page for it as well. This is the wind tunnel data from the Polaris website. So you can see the solid yellow and solid, sort of slightly less yellowy, more pale colour, which are the Polaris wheels at a couple of different speeds. So 13.3 meters per second and 10 meters per second, and this dotted line is a different wheel. One thing to note, and you see this a lot, is this trend for when the wind is head on, you've got a high reading and then it gradually tapers off to 12, 13, 14, 15 degrees where it reaches a minimum. So what's happening is here you actually have got your 13.3 meters per second or 48 k's, 30 miles an hour of headwind, but over here, because of the rotation of the bike, so you've moved off dead on, the forward speed is only 46 kilometers per hour, so you've lost 2 k's there, or 28.7 miles per hour. So the speed here is less, and it tends to skew the readings. It's not a criticism of Ascent. A lot of companies do it, but it's not giving you a true indication to say that traveling at 15 degrees will reduce your drag. You're actually going slower based on this data. So in order to sort of evaluate this to a standard, someone needs to devise a protocol, but no one has done so far. Right, aerodynamic summary. Again, I should just emphasise that data in all of this is subject to change because I haven't had enough data points. It's about 188 watts at 30 kilometers per hour. You've got significant losses because it's a disc wheel. A disc is adding drag because it's an appendage that doesn't improve your drag coefficient. It just makes it worse. It's designed for braking. So you've got, that sort of loss. It's about 6-7 watts more than if it was non-disc. But there you go. It's not a perfect number, so there is some error in there. Overall aerodynamic performance it's too wide. That's not just my opinion. Some of my people that I speak to, which generally have a thought that it's too wide. For a 69mm wheel, I'd say the transient response is good, but, and this is the but, when you get to a 69mm wheel, you're not really looking for ultimate stability. You're looking to go very, very fast. If you want it to not get blown around, get a 50mm wheel. If you are riding along and you go past a hole in a hedge where the wind just comes along, this will blow you around. There's no doubt about it, that will blow you around. Just want to emphasise that that kind of blowing around is different to twitchy handling. That's a different kind of thing that happens. Right, what are the good bits and the bad bits? Well, the owner did a recall straight away. You can't fault him for that, and to be honest, I hold him in high regard for doing that. So there we go. The new wheels, or if you buy a set of new wheels, you are likely to get Sapim spokes, so they're more likely to be reliable. The bad, right, the hubs, I was expecting these to be like the mutt's nuts, but I'd say they were just mediocre. There's nothing especially brilliant about them. The machining tolerances were a bit iffy, if you ask me. The ultimate aerodynamic performance, if you are buying these wheels to go ridiculously fast, you really need to look elsewhere. They're just too wide, as I mentioned before, especially the front wheel. Designing it for a tyre that is that wide is, you can't have both, really. Just pick one. Imbalance in the wheels, I'd say that was quite high compared to others. There was an element that could be caused by the loss of tension in the spokes because I didn't do it straight away. I did it a bit further down the line, so okay, the tyre wasn't on it, but the spoke may have gone at that point, and then you get, and because of the speed I spin it up to, it will actually move, and then that makes the imbalance worse. They're quite heavy, and that's not really a criticism of Ascent. You've got a 69mm wheel, the rim is going to be like 500-600 grams. Internals, again, that wasn't great. I mean, on a wheel it's difficult because you've got a circular object and you are trying to lay up carbon layers that are flat to go around a curved surface. In some respects, Windspace have got that sort of nailed because they're using filament wound, so it's much more of a process that lends itself to a circular object. Right, overall key points. I mentioned about the product recall. Hold them in high regard for that. The front wheel is way too wide. $2,000 US, which is a lot of money. The wheels are 69mm, so they're heavy. People talk about responsiveness. I sort of measure it by how fast I can get to the next lamppost while I accelerate away from the traffic lights. In that regard, this is slow. I mean, you can feel it as you're going along. If you're on a time trial, it probably doesn't matter, but if you want even for crit racing, don't even go near these. That kind of speeding up and slowing down is not suited for these kind of wheels. And if it was my money, I wouldn't buy a set. I think it's a lot of money. I wouldn't say it's terrible, but I certainly wouldn't say they were good. The experience that I've had hasn't been perfect. People will get problems when you supply products. I mean, I'm no different. I get people that get problems with bottom brackets and stuff like that, and it's the way you handle them that really makes a difference. So for customer service, I can't really fault Ascent, but ultimately, if you're going to buy the product, you have to think about what you are getting and what you have to live with on a daily basis. Right, questions and comments. I'll put some additional stuff on hambini.com, and also as I collect more data points and Ascent is sending me some new spokes to lace the wheels, I will upload that. Remember to like and subscribe. Also check me out on Patreon, and please comment below. And that's the end. And as always,